Hi everyone. In today's video, we are going to resume setting up our app with Claude Code. In our last video, we have created a cloud.md file, and today we will be using and creating the orientation prompts to make Claude Code much familiar with our app. So let me share the screen. As you can see that we have created this plot.md file and within the root folder of our application. And now we are going to verify after saving this file. So this is a prompt which I'm going to type in within the plot code. So let me just copy this and type in there in the plot code. So I have copied this prompt, and what I've asked the plot code, just read this plot.md file and tell me the three most important architectural rules I want you to follow in this project. So let's just check what the plot code is going to provide to us. So with this prompt, we are testing how well the Claude have like got the things based on Claude.md. So based on Claude.md, it have identified three main things. One is that all state lives in expense store. So this is the basic heart of our application. Every state is being stored within this expense store. The second thing is the standalone component with modern Angular APIs. So we have asked Angular not to use old ng module or any legacy syntax. And the third thing, everything is lazy loaded and functional. So lazy loading have been actively used, guards and the resolver have been used, and all routes use load component. So this is something which Claude have identified, and it's good that Claude is able to grasp those. So let's move to the orientation prompts now. So here is our orientation prompt. First orientation prompt, what we are going to ask the Claude Code, we are going to provide a specific file, which is expense.store.ts file. And we are going to ask Claude, explain us what state it holds, what computed values it drives, what method components can call, and how local storage persistent work in this storage. So let me just copy this prompt and see what answer Claude provide to us. So I have pasted this, and you can see I have just mentioned this file, and even we can use this expenses store.ts file, and I can tab that. And you can see I have asked 4 questions. Let's see what it provides us. So the 4 questions which we have asked was like what state it holds. So it's keep coming on. Let me just scroll up. So first thing, what state it holds? So it have identified all the signals. So you can see expense limit and these signals over here, it have identified that. Then are the computed values which have been like derived from that. And all with the computed method, these are the like those derived components or derived signals, I would say. Then comes the what method components can call. So the method it have identified basically all the methods which are with methods, and you can see it have identified all. And the last thing which we have asked is how local storage works. So it have identified like it's read on creation, and then write on every mutation. Whenever the state is getting changed, these two methods have been called. So previously we have changed like from effects to this, and this way it's being there. And API is a backup have been like used in case if local storage is not there and HTTP call is being generated. So one thing worth flag. So it have identified one more thing as well. Two expense edit in the same millisecond could collide on. So it have improvised and provide certain things on its own. So this is something which it have given a flag about. So it's getting hold of the like code which we are providing. So move to the next code, or I would say the orientation prompt. So let's move to the next orientation prompt. So in the next orientation prompt, what I'm going to ask it understand the component. So I'm providing two specific files, and I'm asking it to tell me how this component gets its data, how it communicates with the store, what pipes it uses, and how the filter bills work reactively. So let me copy this prompt and see how Claude Code react to this. So I've pasted this as well. Again, I've identified the files as well, and I've asked 4 questions. Let's see how it reacts. Let me open this show. And it's reading the both files. So you can see I have identified 2 files to it. And what it's doing, it's like identified it and have read both these, and then it had identified how it gets its data. So it knows that it doesn't fetch anything itself. It reads signal state of the store. So it knows that everything is being pulled off from the store. And then how it communicates with the store. So it says strictly through store method, never mutating state, exactly per the architecture rule. So you can see these are the methods it says, and you can see it says, so it's a clean one-way loop. Now comes what pipe it use and why. So there are like 3 custom pipes which have been used: category icon, time ago, and a PKR currency pipe, all have been used. Then comes the filter pills. So how filter pills work reactively. The reason is that one like click and you can see the state update is being done using this patch state. So updating the select category signal, and it have identified like 2 things recompute automatically. So you can see the Claude code is getting equipped with our code, and we are explicitly asking how things are working, and it's able to identify and provide us the right answer. So let's move to the next prompt. The next prompt is related to the routing. So we are going to ask like which routes are protected and why, which routes have resolver and why they do, and how lazy loading is working. So I'm providing the routes file to it and asking these 3 questions. So let me just copy this prompt and paste it over there. So I have this prompt with me. Let me just click over here, and you can see it's reading the exact app.route.ts file, and it's again additionally it have read the auth.guard as well and expense.resolver as well. And when we have asked like which routes are protected, so you can see only when one route is protected. As you know that we have protected this add route from any unauthenticated user, like without getting or without authenticating, they are not able to access this route. So it have correctly identified. And the second thing is that which route have resolver and what they do. So on dashboard, we have used the resolver. Why we have used the resolver? Because it's going to call these 2 methods before the dashboard activities. So this was the prime reason, and it have identified that correctly as well. Then comes how lazy loading works. So it sees that within the routes that load component is being used with a dynamic import. So with this, it already knows that it have been working exactly the way we want. So it is getting well equipped with what we are doing, and we have asked it several questions, and it's like giving the right answers to that. So let me just move forward. Let's just so So here are like our 4th prompt. What we are going to ask it, we are going to test its architectural understanding so far. Now we are going to ask, I want to add a feature, and what we are asking that this is a feature and where user can write free form notes. So we have identified that we are going to create a feature, and the second thing, what the feature is going to do. What we have said, like before writing any code, tell us like these 5 questions, like what files you are going to create, what the components file will be named, how you add the route, whether the state should go in like expensive store or a new store, and why, what the branch name should be. So let me just copy this prompt and see how Claude reacts to it. So I've pasted this prompt, and let me just paste it again. So let me just ask and click. So let's see. Now we have asked a more of a architectural thing, because what we have said, we have asked like I want to add, but before writing any code, tell me this. And what it's going to do, like good call planning first. It itself like appraising on that part, like we are just calling for the planning phase, no code yet. So what it says, it's going to answer files I would create, what it's going to do, it's going to create a notes.ts file and notes.html file within the features folder, and inside that there is a notes folder. And you can see that this is a standalone component and no like notes.components.ts file is not there. The second thing is that regarding the store, it's suggesting a new signal store for notes state. We'll see to it how why it's suggesting so. And it's also suggesting a new model for that. And one modified file, even it's going to like modify app.route to register the route, because we know, and that's it. No ng module and no service TS. So that's the second thing. Like component file, it have identified like node.ts. And again, as I mentioned, let there is no nodes.component.ts because it was the old way of doing that. So it have identified and mentioned that these are the two things. Now comes the how would I add the route? So again, it knows that we are using the lazy loading, and you for that it's going to use the same lazy loading approach. You can see the path is nodes, but it's being using this load component, lazy loading is being implemented. So this way it knows like how we need to use add it. Then there comes one decision point: guard it or not. Nodes are free form. So uh, like the same category as which is the one route you prefer. So it's asking. So, but the procedure call if you want nodes browsable by anyone. So this and drop the can activate. So it's asking the question from us. So we can answer to that. So it's asking more of a decision which we have to take. Then comes the expense store or new store. It's suggesting a new notes store, not expense. Let's ask why and see the reason. But it says the Claude.md rule, like all application, it says there is an expense store reads literally, but in context, it means all expense domain states live in the store rather than scattered in component. It's don't mutate state in components rule, not one global store for a while. So it's giving a reasoning that I am keeping a new store. The reason is that I don't want to treat this expense store as a global store. And the second thing, what it's saying, it's a domain separation. So what it's saying, expense store is more around expense, budget, limits, and category. But like nodes share none of these data. So that's why it's not coupling it with the existing store. The second thing, the signal store pattern encourages feature store. So you can see is designed to be composed per domain. A node store is the idiomatic fit. So same goes over here. Then comes the independent persistence. So node would use their own local storage key. So over here, it's suggesting to use a separate like local storage key for the nodes. So now these decisions are up to us. So if we allow the Claude Code to move this way, it's going to create a separate store. But if we try to revise it, now it's based on our judgment and our call how we are going to proceed. It's providing its own stance of doing this, but it's now our call. Either we like to go with a separate store or we like to have these nodes included inside this. Then come the lower blast radius. So change to the nodes cannot accidentally break. So this is one more thing. Feature branch, as we have just mentioned, like feature and the feature name convention needs to be used as it have used the same thing. And then come before I write anything, two things I need from you. Now it's asking the question like guard. Either we are going to make it guard protected or we are going to leave it public. And the second thing it's asking for to create a separate store. So it's suggestion, but we are not bound to follow that. So this is one thing. So before moving that, let's just move to the next prompt and see how we can effectively use that. Okay, so basically, these were the like main prompts and what we are like testing. So what we have done so far. So we aren't just like using our thinking or thought process, but we are testing the Claude thinking process as well, because we have asked certain questions from Claude before doing anything. So and we have seen that whether it's understand or not. So basically, this is the real way an architect or a software engineer works or mentors or guide juniors like software engineers like Claude Code. So this is the mental model we need to establish, that Claude Code is going to ask certain questions from us, and we are going to answer based on our understanding, judgment, and the way we want the things to be produced. Now comes up the verification test. So again, we are asking for a further prompt. So let me just copy that and we use that. So I've pasted it, and again, it's somewhat similar to the previous one. So explain, you would add a delete expense. So we are simply asking certain thing. So we are asking that without writing any code, explain how will you add a delete expense button to the expense page. Previously, within the list page, the delete button was there, and now which existing method handles. So it's going to provide certain answer to us, and let's see how it provide us. So which existing method handle deletion, and it have rightly identified that we do have a delete expense method already available. So it filters out, and within the patch state, the new, so it is already being there. So which file needs a new method? It says this expense.ps file, and it's already there. So it have identified that the method is already there. Which file need a new button? So this is that, and this is the button, and it's also already there. It says the same thing. And also regarding what the click handle looks like, so this is going to use that, and whether any store changes are required, so it says none. So seems like that Claude is able to get hold of each and everything we have asked from it, and it's very in a better position to quickly go within our code and do the modifications we require. So let's just proceed with our. So let's just proceed further, and you know that we have identified these answers. And let's just quickly discuss certain rules that like context before prompt. So we need to, these are like 4 or 6 rules. I'll be discussing one after another. So rule 1 is like context before prompt. So we are never going to ask like Claude to build something before it have read the relevant existing file, because if it haven't read that, it's going to do sort of a guesswork. So every session start with orientation, not request. Wrong way of doing is that add a chart to the dashboard, and the right way is that read this file and then add a spending chart below the summary card. So now Claude know which files to look into, where to add that chart, and what's the place of that. The second rule is that describe the what, not the how. So we don't exactly tell we are going to tell Claude Code what we want to achieve, not how to implement. So let's propose it's the implementation, and then we are going to review and correct it. So rather than asking like create a computed signal that filters this and this and using behavior also, how we are going to do a right prompt, I need to say like I need to see expenses group by month. What is the cleanest way to do this given our existing store architecture? Now Claude will come with a better design, and we have to revise that. The third thing is that like review anything before accepting. So every generated file should be read by us. So 3 questions for every generated file, like does this follow our convention from plot.md? Do I understand the file? Would I be able to debug it if it breaks? So if there is any answer to any this of this question, the answer is no, then you have to ask the Claude to explain. And then before committing anything, you need to get a proper answer to all these 3. Then comes the rule 4. This is the most important one, because one feature at a time. Let's say if we asked the Claude to build an entire feature, so what is going to happen? It might come up with so much boilerplate code that you might not be able to grasp. So how we are going to break it into a step, like component first, then template, then route. So let's say the wrong way is to say build the entire report page with charts. But the right way to do is like create the report prompt shell with no content, then add the routes to the app.ts, add a spending by category computer signal to the store, and then render the chart in the template. So this way, Claude have much of more of a knowledge regarding how we are effectively prompting. And the 5th golden rule is that correct the model, not just the code. Let's say if Claude could have done some mistake, So don't do it manually. Instead, ask the Claude tell the Claude basically what's wrong and why. So it doesn't repeat it again. If it do it again, so what we need to do, we might be like uh, updating our Claude.md file. And the right way to do is via prompt, because we are not the in charge. This is the similar way when you are working with a junior engineer and he have done some mistake. You do not go and correct it right away on your own. You ask the person to get it fixed in its and review, and you just give a hint, a direction to that person. So you says to it, this is wrong, use this instead of that. And this is the way we do. And the last rule is like sixth rule, the Claude.md is a living document. So every time we are going to use this, so add a rule to this. And over time, this is going to become the perfect. So over a time, Claude Code is Claude.md is going to become our de facto standard of ours. So far, like I'm done with this, all the rules, and I have effectively created the prompts. From the next video, we are effectively going to use Claude Code to create these features. So I'm very hopeful that you are able to follow along with me. And if you like the video, feel free to like and subscribe the channel. So thanks for watching. Bye.